I've mentioned before how much I appreciate Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It came out at a perfect time in my life and grew to not only win my respect, but a ton of other people's around the globe. I used to read the books all the time, but I think I stopped at Hard Luck. I unfortunately just grew out of the series around that time. But I still watch the movies. Apparently there's 8 movies and another one coming soon. I mean, I've seen most of them, but the Disney Plus ones are where I officially called. But I wanted to revisit them and rank them in this video to see if they were as good as I remembered, or if I aged out of them at the right time. We'll also get to the Disney Plus ones, unfortunately. Let's start with that very first one, though. What a start, bro. Adapting the first book in the series, we have this movie, which is the first to ever do it. Man, I just love this movie as a kid. It's a classic. The series follows Greg Heffley as he encounters hardships with friends, family, classmates, and as he ultimately transitions into middle school. He is a narcissistic asshole, but like, that's kind of the point. I'm not gonna sit here and dissect his character. There are way more qualified people who do that on this website. I just want to focus on structure, character moments, and differences between the book and the movie. Speaking of differences, there's this girl under the bleachers, Angie. She doesn't even appear in the book. Her addition here is just to sort of give a third friend to Greg and Rowley, someone on the inside since she's in the school newspaper. He also keeps getting beaten down until he realizes that he has to be likable to make friends and get popular. A lot of it feels like highlights, yes, but there is an arc for Greg, with the plot points like the cheese touch or the popularity ranking. It all circles back and all makes sense. He learns to be a good friend to Rowley, who he's insanely mean to and breaks his arm. There are just a lot of great scenes here. The wrestling scene, the play scene, the dance scene, the Halloween scene. It's kind of back-to-back bangers from front to back. The humor here is great. A lot of it does rely on just showing Greg in his underwear, which is a little weird revisiting as an adult. And it's very rough around the edges, but it was the first one. I'm shocked that they got away with what they did, considering that the later ones are more tame.
Whoa. Wow. I didn't know Rodrick was into motorcycles.
What's weird is that during the PE scene, the lighting just changes in between shots. Like, look at this, bro. If I cared, I'd rate this lower, but I kind of respect it for being the first one, but I don't really feel the need to nitpick the funny Greg movie. It's a good movie at the end of the day, and I was obsessed with it as a kid, and I'm glad to say that it still holds up. Every time a goated scene that I forgot about started, I screamed. It's perfectly casted and takes what worked about the book and made it so much better with an amazing cast. Steve Zahn as the dad and Devin Bostic as Rodrick are the big highlights. It's a beat. Great start to the series. Let's see where it can go. Coming out a year later, we have Rodrick Rules. This one's got a cult following, so let's see why. There's actually sort of a story this time. Sure, it still feels like highlights, but there's more of a theme to everything, and that is brotherhood. Susan tries to get the boys to get closer with each other by introducing mom books that rewards them for spending time with each other. Rodrick and Greg actually start to get along as they get closer. While he's doing this, he's also trying to win over Holly Hills, this new girl at school. Every scene fleshes out these 2 specific plots or arcs, and speaking of the writing, it got a huge upgrade. There's this interview with the creators of South Park. I think it's like a college lecture or something, where they talk about the therefore but rule, which is essentially in comedy writing, interesting plots and comedic moments progress with either a therefore or a but. Greg wants to impress Holly Hills at the roller rink, but Rodrick sees him stalking her. Therefore, he dares her to go to ask her to dance. But just as he tries to ask her, Rodrick changes the song. Therefore, his parents step in and humiliate him. Therefore, the next time he sees Rodrick, he's upset. Therefore, he tries to punch him, but he's still on skates. Therefore, he falls into this little kid's birthday kit. And that's just one of many scenes like this.
We'll have our beats and we'll say, okay, this happened, but then this happens, and that affects this, and that does to that, and that's why you get a show that feels like, okay, this to that, to this to that, but this, here's the complication, to that.
This comedy fleshes out in such an interesting way, and leads to a party that Greg and Rodrick throw without the parents knowing. But the only remnant of the party is the door that they changed, and the knob is completely different. The mom finds out and confronts Greg, but he caves and tells her. This gets crazier when his dad finds the pictures that they took at the party, leading to another punishment where they have to stay at their grandfather's retirement home. He has a great talk with Holly Hills, who's visiting her grandmother, and actually starts getting to know her. Some weird Greg scenes happen, and it all leads to this final scene at the talent show. Out of context, this sounds insane, but it feels so natural and tight in the movie. It's perfectly paced, well edited, directed. Dude, this thing is just so good. Like, when I think of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I think of this movie. It's directed by David Bowers, who did the next 3 movies and flushed away, but he shines here. The invisible Chirag joke and the magic stuff, the sleepover, the church scene. This movie's just full of banger scenes, just like that last one. And I know it sounds like I'm glazing, and that's because I am. This movie holds up phenomenally, except for one bit, but it's still phenomenally put together. Sure, compared to something like The Shining, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Parasite, Sinners, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a really, really good family comedy that has a lot of heart to it. Greg learns to be a good brother, and this series not only points out the flaws with the parents' way of parenting, but encourages kids to figure things out on their own, which is so interesting. I don't have a ton else to say. It's an emphatic S. Have we peaked? Let's see. This was the first and only one I saw in theaters, and the first one I saw in general. It's a little weird that I started with this one, but it's Diary of a Wimpy Kid, like who cares? This one follows Greg again. This time it's summer. Yeah, instead of following a specific year, it just takes place in the summer before 8th grade. He desperately wants to sit inside and play video games all day, but his dad is making him go outside. His relationship with his dad is the focal point here, him trying to make his dad proud, but him getting the idea from one of Rodrick's old friends to ship him off to Spag Union Prep School for 8th grade. So he's got to show him that he's responsible and doesn't have to go to prep school. It's based on the book, sure, but also takes moments from the Last Straw book, which, I mean, they skipped. They kind of combined the books into this movie. I guess I realized that the Last Straw book wouldn't have worked as a standalone movie. Sure, I don't care. Greg then lies about having a job so he can get closer to Holly at the country club and gets out of an internship at his dad's work. The family gets a dog, they go camping. It's a typical summer movie. But the charm comes from the acting and the writing being directed by the same person who did the last one. If the first one is Greg learning to be a good friend, and the second one is him learning to be a good brother, and this one is him learning how to be a good son. He learned that his dad is not as into the stuff he thought he was, and is actually more like him. Again, I don't have a ton to say about it. There are a bunch of really good scenes, especially with the dad and the dog. There's also some continuity. After the last movie, Rodrick and Greg have gotten closer, so he shares something with Greg that he wouldn't have done 2 movies ago. It's a sweet movie at the core, but you can tell these actors are getting older, and it's hard for them to reprise those roles when they're like 18. The casting is perfect, man. The editing is also great. Certain moments being synced with a certain sound, it just tickles my brain in the right way. Just a great summer movie all around. I think it's better than the first. Oh, that second one is just so good, man. This is the last full-length movie they released with this cast, so say goodbye to this group. They really did nail it, huh? An incredible trilogy. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, Lord. Jumping all the way to the 9th book, we have The Long Haul. Joy. Yeah, this came out 5 years after the last one, which is fine, but the cast changed. This time it takes place over another summer, but this time it's a road trip with the family going to Mima's 90th birthday. I remember when this came out, it was hated for the simple reason of it just not having the same cast. The new cast is fine, but unfortunately you're going up against one of the greatest casting choices ever. I am not kidding. Rodrick is way better than the rest of them. Shout out Charlie Wright. There are some actually funny jokes with him.
Rodrick, that's a mini safe.
Huh. And they disguised it as a microwave.
Overall, it's got the same sense of humor like the last ones, but the comedic timing in some moments is a little bit off, but it's solid for what it is. People just hate because of the different cast. It's actually funny if you do give it a chance. It's nothing crazy, but it's linked to Diary of a Wimpy Kid. If this was just a random family road trip, it wouldn't be as hated. It would just be forgotten. Again, it's nothing amazing. It's got some 2017 moments, including the diaper hands meme thing that I hate. And Greg idolizing a YouTuber, and he thinks he can get rid of the diaper hands meme if he sees the streamer at some convention thing. It's stupid. It sucks. There are painful moments here and there, but honestly, it's not as bad as people say. It's more because of the cast. I like the Paper Mario-esque animation, but it's nothing crazy. I sort of get the hate, but it's not as bad as people think. It's still a D, but the mega hate this gets is not super warranted. Greg would not wear his backpack with 2 straps. I'll just say it.
Are those even real?
I doubt it. People make their weapons out of foam and stuff.
Coming out 4 years later, we have the animated one made during peak COVID. Bro, when this got revealed, it had this fun little test animation. But looking at the final animation, like, what happened? This is, at the end of the day, a retelling of that first movie, but like, why would I watch this over the original? The animation, it looks awful and sounds terrible. Since they recorded this at home during COVID, the mom's mic in particular sounds terrible.
Yes, Rodrick. Why don't you tell him what he can expect on his first day?
Not to mention, it's only an hour long and not very well paced. We fly through this movie. Can we even consider this a movie? It's not funny, it looks awful, it is not well written, and it's terribly paced. The only things of note are the music and the cinematography. Some fun camera movements and music, but like, then what? It doesn't do anything better than that first movie. There's no character moments that are fun here. I could go on, but I have more of these to talk about. It's an F. Why does this exist? Dude, what is going on? This one came out a year later. I guess they're releasing these yearly now. It's essentially the same story, but a little different. For one, Greg actively seeks Rodrick's advice out, rather than him figuring it out through mom books, which is an already established thing, apparently, and the dad doesn't know? Why? We don't even get an actual introduction. Kind of a particular thing, but there's a moment in the original where Rodrick tells Greg to get something in the basement and locks him in during the party. It's this moment where Rodrick betrays Greg and ultimately leads to them getting closer. But the scene comes out of nowhere, and it's a great moment showing that he's embarrassed of Greg. In this movie, there's a little nod to it happening, foreshadowing it, so it doesn't have the same impact when it actually happens. They also miss the party, so it's like, why does Greg have a reason to hide it from his parents? So he can get better treatment from Rodrick? He also rickrolls us. They don't realize what made the original so good. The brother dynamic actually worked there. The party scene was a reason for Rodrick and Greg to get closer. In the original, a secret that they kept from their parents, because if they didn't, they'd get in a lot of trouble since both of them were at the party. But like, why does Greg even care about what Rodrick thinks in this one? Sure, this is a bad movie again. Why would I watch this over the original? But it's not as bad as that first one. That one was bland. At least this one has that original great movie to go off of. It's a D, man. Who cares? Maybe they can bring this back. Probably not. So we have this Christmas one. I guess we're jumping around again. Looks like they wanted a Christmas one. Specifically, sure. The plot is Greg realizing that this is technically the last year he's going to get a good gift and wants to go all out with a bang with this new gaming console. But he has to be good since he's being watched by this off-brand elf on the shelf. Another simple story, and the execution is fine. There's nothing particularly amazing about this one. It's more that this is the first time the book has been adapted to film. The problem is that these are like an hour long each and don't have time to flesh out these characters. The animation is slowly getting better, and the lighting has some good moments, and it's actually decent. It's not great, but it's like sort of entertaining. It's a fine holiday movie at the end of the day, and does just enough to keep me invested, which is crazy for these movies. The music in particular is crazy. John Paisano cooked again, but it's not amazing. It's decent enough, but it is a C. They recast Greg again. Jumping a couple books forward and a few years, we have The Last Straw. The first time this has been adapted into a book, but they changed it to be another Christmas movie. We're back with the awkward humor and characterization. There's this opening scene where Greg takes forever to get to church because he doesn't know how to use a key. What are we doing here, man? Dog Days took some moments from the story, but there's just nothing here, man. Greg as a character here is less manipulative and sociopathic, and he just feels like he's less defined as a character. Another particular thing, but in Dog Days, it's kind of up in the air whether Frank wants to send Greg to Spag Union. At the end, they bond over the things that they enjoy, and Frank says that he never actually wanted to send Greg to Spag Union. In this, he's basically begging to send Greg over, and makes a bet with him that he won't get top rank in the wood chippers. And if he doesn't, he'll be shipped off. It doesn't work as well. It feels like a Frank versus Greg story, which the original has that, but what works about that one is that Frank ultimately doesn't want to spend time with Greg, but Susan convinces him, and they realize that they have more in common than they thought. This one is just Frank desperately wanting to get closer to Greg, and Greg giving in for some reason. The original feels like the holdovers in a way, two people who are a generation or two away, realizing that they're more alike than they think, but what works about that story is that neither of them want to be there, so Frank wanting to get close to Greg just does not make any sense. I am losing my mind. It's a D. Why is this the introduction to Patty Farrell, man? At the end of the day, these movies are junk food. Even the best one of these animated ones are just fine. There are better versions of these stories. The Diary of Wimpy Kid stories are about a manipulative kid trying to survive his family and his school, but it's more about the characters and the situations they got themselves into. And these new ones just don't have the same charm of what made it so interesting in the first place. And while I love those first couple ones, I can acknowledge that there are problems with some. But those are just also objectively better, no matter how you look at them. These new ones are fine, but I much prefer those older ones, no matter how dated they are, rooted in the 2010s family movie category. For these videos, I don't usually choose series that are ongoing, but is the upcoming movie The Getaway gonna be any different? I don't know, man. If these keep going the way they're going, I don't know, maybe Diary of a Wimpy Kid, like 15 is gonna be a masterpiece. This video might be outdated in a few months, but I don't care. I wanted to revisit these because I thought it was time, and my Disney Plus expired. But hey, that's the list. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the recent support. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing. I got a lot of new things coming your way that are just like this. Thank you, Yerda Payne and CG Vibin for being members. I'll see you in the next one.